Alright, so it has definitely been one of those days, man, where it's like hot as hell inside this garage right now, and I just don't even want to be out here. Weather in Phoenix.
It's 96 degrees and sunny in Phoenix.
96 degrees, man. Well, I mean, I guess it's not horrible, because I know for sure that those 110 plus days are freaking coming. So really, this is kind of cool weather at the moment. Oh, man. Arizona's hot as hell, boy. But today we're gonna be working on the valve covers like I had mentioned before. We gotta paint this one and I'm gonna be clear coating this one. But first things first is I am going to cut both of them. This one I'm gonna get a little bit creative with. You guys are gonna see that here in a moment. And if I end up screwing it up, which I have a feeling I might, then this will probably end up being the one that gets a full cut and we'll just end up chopping this off. But I want to try to experiment with this one and get a little bit creative with it and do something that I haven't seen anybody else do. And then if everything goes well with this one, then this one will be the one that we do a full cut on. But if I do screw this one up, then we're going to do a full cut on this one and do a window or the moon or something on this one. I don't know. We'll see. We gotta see how this one goes before we can decide anything. Alright, first thing I'm doing is I'm gonna lay a piece of tape out here and I'm gonna cut it on each end. Now I'm gonna peel it off of here. This looks like a bunch of what the at the moment. I understand that. This is just for me to get my layout. This will all make more sense here in a moment. But right now what I'm going to basically do is take a prick punch and I'm going to go through and I'm going to punch each one of these probably right here. I don't know. I got to figure it out. I know down here it's going to get a prick punch at each one of these points. And then up here, I need to figure out my spacing from here to here where it is I want it. But then I'm going to be doing the same up here. And then we got to drill some holes. Go, point of no return. Stop. Alright, that was my pilot bit. Now I'm switching to a much larger bit to drill much larger holes. Alright, so we got the holes all drilled, and if you guys can see, this is going to be my next step, bro. Basically, we are going to be connecting the dots. So, from this hole to this hole, I got to cut along the line here, and if that, I mean, that should basically give you an idea what it is I'm going for here, is just kind of like making it look like it's vented. I don't know. I don't even know if this is going to look cool, man. I'm just trying to do something different. whenever we get it done, if it looks stupid, then I guess I'll just hack it off of there. It is what it is. At least I've got a compressor that actually works. Hell yeah. That's gonna make it awesome. I'm gonna be using a pneumatic cutoff wheel because it's just so much easier to control than actually using a grinder. A grinder is just, you know, full send, where this thing you can kind of go a little bit more easy and slow. Did I mention that this is the part where I'm probably gonna fuck this thing up? Yeah, buddy. Alright, so there is the first little slot. So you guys can, I'm sure, basically get an idea what it is I'm doing here now. So now I drilled all the holes, and the idea here is just to connect the holes, dude, and make like this vented grilled look. I don't know. I know I haven't seen anybody else do something like this. So I'm just trying to be different here, dude. Just trying to be different and do something a little bit out of the box. And what I did was I cut a little bit short so that I can come back with the file. I used the flat square file just to kind of straighten up the edge, and then I used my rounded file just to clean up the rounded portion right here from the hole that we drilled. It's still not perfect. I still have some more filing to do. This one has taken me about 30 minutes so far. That would be a half an hour, 1 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's gonna take basically 3 hours, maybe a little less, maybe a little more to actually get this completely done. I'll obviously spare you guys all that time. So I'm gonna put you on a hyperlapse and try to get this done as quick as I possibly can so that we can continue getting it cleaned up and hopefully clear coat this thing today. Alright, so we got the cuts all done, and I actually went through and I cleaned them up with just a piece of sandpaper. I don't even know what grit this was. 120. Piece of 120 grit sandpaper. I kind of rolled it up and just... But, I mean, what do you guys think, dude? I mean, it's definitely different. I know I haven't seen anybody else with a valve cover that has been done in this fashion. I don't know, man. I kind of dig it. It doesn't necessarily look as cool as I thought it was going to, but I don't know. I don't hate it either. So I personally think it looks cool, and it's not my only valve cover. We're also going to be doing something to this one. What I'm going to be doing now is just go ahead and setting this one aside and start cracking on this guy. So with this valve cover, I am wanting to do the full cut because honestly, I like the way that the full cut looks. I like whenever the cam gears are fully exposed. It just looks cool to me. But not only fashion, I think it also serves as a good function because obviously, since we have the adjustable cam gears, and it is a possibility that these may need to be adjusted during the tuning process, I would like for the cam gears to be fully accessible without having to continuously remove the valve cover on and off. But what we're gonna do first is actually go through the process of doing the half moons, only because I mean I want to try it out, see how difficult it is to do it. And on top of that is through the process of me doing it, I'm hoping that maybe it could teach you guys possibly how to do it yourselves as well. So, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, where we cut, it obviously has to line up with the cam gears themselves. And I've been looking at it, trying to figure out the easiest possible way of doing that. And I think that I've come up with a solution. Okay, so first thing that I did here is I actually covered the cam gears themselves with tape, and I went around the edge of the cam gear and just basically outlined them, and then I also roughly just kind of marked a center line. So our next step is we're gonna actually set the valve cover on top of the engine. And now with the valve cover placed on the engine, I'm gonna go ahead and take this piece of tape and run it right across level with the valve cover so that it actually lines up with that bottom edge of the valve cover. Now what we want to do is that line that we actually marked on here representing our center, we want to transfer that line to the valve cover itself, because we're going to need that line to line our tape up here in a moment. So this is what you're looking for. We have our cam gears actually outlined on our piece of tape, and we marked the center. And then we set our valve cover down over the top. We marked the line right here at the bottom of the valve cover with a different color piece of tape so we'll be able to see it clearly. And then we also transferred our center line onto the valve cover. So our next step now is we can go ahead and take the valve cover off. Now we want to remove this tape, and you want to be very careful when you're removing this tape because you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to rip it or anything. You want to try to be as careful as you can. Just like that. So now what we'll do, we know that the top of this piece of green tape right here, that represents the bottom of the valve cover. So we aren't going to be cutting anything from this top of this tape down. So all that right there is useless to us. Basically what we want is from that point up. So what I'll do is line my straight edge up on here to that tape and go ahead and cut that bottom section off because we don't need it. Alright, that's what we have left, and that's the only piece that we need to apply to our valve cover. So now, since this valve cover does have this little bit of a taper right here, I'm not going to put this tape right on the edge. I'm going to go right above it just slightly, just to accommodate for that little bit of a taper. I don't want it to affect our cut. So all we have to do now is line these center lines up, and then make sure the bottom of this tape is nice and straight with the valve cover. And like I said, I just have it spaced up just slightly. And then we'll just go ahead and apply the tape. Make sure that it wraps around that little taper nice and clean. You want to make sure to do a good job here, because this right here is what's going to matter as to whether or not these half cuts are going to line up with our cam gears. And there it is, dude. That is our cut line. That's exactly where it is that we needed to cut for our cam gears to line up perfectly whenever we actually put the valve cover on the engine. Okay, so with this valve cover, I'm actually going to be using a Dremel to cut out these half moon shapes. I already made the mistake of thinking that I was going to be able to use my jigsaw, but unfortunately you can't use a jigsaw because there's not enough room back here. The blade would be hitting the other side of the valve cover. The only thing that I have that I think is going to work here is this Dremel. So I'm going to give it a shot. It's probably going to be a slow, tedious process, but luckily I have a whole bunch of little cutting discs in case I'm in. I don't know. For all I know, it might be super easy, but for all I know, I might go through every one of those cutting discs also. So we'll see, man. I'm gonna put you guys on a time lapse and just get this knocked out. So I got both of them cut out, man. Holy freaking crap! Was it a pain in the ass? Yes, it most certainly was. Was it enjoyable? No, it most certainly wasn't. But we got it done. It's cut out, and it is really, really rough right now. It looks like shit. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you guys. Having a Dremel, it's a really good tool to have, and it comes in handy for shit. Whew, I do not have the patience for cutting something with that tiny ass little freaking cutting wheel, man. That was a nightmare, dude. That was tedious and annoying, and I went through quite a few little blades because I kept breaking them. We gotta get this cut. We gotta get this cleaned up because that ain't gonna do. And how we're gonna do that lies inside of this bag right here. Bam! Yeah, boy, I ordered this little pack of sanding wheels off of Amazon. I honestly don't remember how much they cost. I ordered these they've been sitting here for like a week. But anyhow, I actually ordered these for another reason. We're gonna be using this one in a video here pretty soon. Comment down below if you guys think you know what I could possibly be needing to do with this thing. For real. Put your comments down below. I'm interested to see if you guys guess it or not. Anyhow, this one would probably be the best one to use right here. Yes, of course it would be. But I don't want to use that one because of what we need to use it for in the future. So I'm going to try to use this one just to kind of buzz around this thing and get it cleaned up the best that I can. Wow! Oh, Jesus, calm down.
All the time.
Well, there it is. That is our half moon cut, and I'm not gonna lie, dude. I could keep going on it and clean it up quite a bit more because it is a little rough. But like I had mentioned before, I don't plan on keeping it like this. I want to do a full cut on this valve cover. So one thing I will say is if I were gonna keep it like this, I probably would knock this section right here out. Actually, you know what? See, something more like that, man. I don't know. I just think that makes it look a little bit cleaner rather than having that piece coming all the way down, because it has that little lip on it right there that has the groove for actually sitting, for the timing belt cover to actually sit inside of, and which obviously there's no need for it to be right there. Maybe if I had that lower timing belt cover, that'd be kind of cool, but I don't have that lower timing belt cover. Alright guys, make sure you comment down below. Let me know which valve cover you think looks the coolest, and of course you can continue with your suggestions as far as what color you think I should paint that second valve cover. Remember, the one that's just bare metal, that is going to be getting clear coated. And I'm going to be clear coating it to match the wheels basically. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I also hope that it helps somebody out, you know what I'm saying? That was my first time ever cutting a valve cover, period. Don't be too hard on me, guys. Peace out, and we're going to be painting them in the next episode, so later.